should change quarterbacks if Mitch Trubisky struggles this week. Fact or fiction?
Fiction. I mean, it's not so much because I believe in Mitch. It's because we talk so much about how young quarterbacks can be ruined. Why would you want to put Kenny Pickett in behind that offensive line? Until they get this offensive line right, I think they should let Mitch go out there and unfortunately deal with the struggles. And it's not because there's some high-end rewards you're going to get from Mitch, but bring Kenny in when it's time to bring him in, when you can protect him.
So you're saying you think Trubisky should be the sheep that remains led to the slaughter, or rather the lamb, or whatever it is you lead to a slaughter. Let's hear from Trubisky himself, because the world is sort of getting antsy here. He's talking himself about the improvements he needs to make. Listen.
I just got to get these playmakers of football, whether it's whatever route they're running. I just got to get them the ball. So it really comes down to me making better decisions, being aggressive, and putting ourselves in that position.
Well, listen, I mean, the fans have run out of patience. If you don't believe me, listen to this. Heather Dinich, who should the quarterback of the Steelers be?
Kenny Pickett.
Hello.
If you've got two guys running a race, you keep the slower guy in there, see if he can finish it. No, you don't. No, you don't. You put your speedy guy in there.
Kmart, I mean,
Yes.
there does seem to be some logic. They play Thursday night this week against the Browns. They play tomorrow night. So that creates like the little mini bye that you get after a Thursday. If you're going to make a quarterback change, that might seem like a logical time to do it. Is his leash short enough that if tomorrow night goes badly, it could be over?
So we even saw in the preseason the chance for Kenny Pickett, and you understood that the leash for Mitch was going to be short just to start this season. So it's on Mitch to keep the rookie at bay. Here's the thing. They've got 10 days after they play the Browns. They face your New York Jets.
Correct.
You could say, oh, why not put Kenny Pickett in against the Jets, okay?
Yeah.
However, the schedule after that gets really tough. At Buffalo, Tampa Bay, at Miami, at Philly, and then their bye week. I think the bye week, if I'm the Steelers, that's where I'm looking at. And not just because I'm wearing my Pollins today. But if I'm the Steelers, that's where I look and insert Kenny.
What do you think, Canty?
Yeah, it's time for Kenny Pickett. I mean, how many times do we have to see the Mitch Trubisky movie before we recognize that he's not the solution to the problems that Pittsburgh Steelers offense is having? I'm not saying that he's the genesis of all the issues, but he certainly can't help them figure it out. And that's why I look at a guy like Kenny Pickett, a player that spent 5 years in college and that's 24 years old. I think it's right for him to have an opportunity to step in there and see if he can operate the offense at a higher level.
Can I just counter with, I'm all for rookies actually sitting. Because you threw out Justin Fields, right? And now their question's like, I don't know, is Justin Fields, can he actually figure it out? I think when you put the kids in, if they struggle, then it changes how media looks at them. I think you have to look at their development. It's not just about this season. It's about you drafted this guy. Yes, Steelers fan.
But Kenny Pickett played in a pro-style offense at Pitt. He's ready and he knows what to do, and I think he's got some familiarity with the offense. And I can tell you this from talking to some sources there, that the guys on the team like Kenny Pickett. And so that has to be impacting how Mitch is playing. He's clearly not comfortable in the pocket. He's playing for his job.
Listen, if the best argument you can make for leaving Trubisky on the field is the offensive line is so bad, let him get beat up instead of the other guy. After week 2, when the division, what we thought might be a juggernaut of a division, suddenly looks like it might sort of be wide open, I kind of have to lean towards the Picketts at the table.
Who the hell do you guys think Kenny Pickett is?
Like a first-round draft
I know who he ain't. Mitch Trubisky. I know who he ain't.
A first-round draft pick towards the end of the first round. I don't think that you can drop a quarterback into a bad offensive line and it's just going to overcome. There's some players, then there's one player, Lamar Jackson. He's the guy where I think you can put him in a bad situation and it'll get a lot better. Kenny Pickett is athletic, but he's not that. So putting Kenny Pickett in now, the results, I believe, are going to look very similar to the results that you're getting now. And not only do you lose games, but you potentially lose Kenny Pickett because you put him out there to get attacked week after week.
Making sense on a Wednesday.
Well, let's give him a shot and see if he can rectify some of these problems against Myles Garrett. And if he can't, then let's go ahead and make the change that Steelers fans everywhere.
Again, that's the point. They play tomorrow night. It's a Thursday night game against Cleveland, and then they have that. Again, I know you're waiting for a bye, but there's a little bit of a mini bye here. Look, I have been a Trubisky believer. When I was right, I told you I was right. When I'm wrong, I'll tell you I was wrong. I believed that Mitch Trubisky could revive his career. So far, it's been a disaster. It's been an unbridled unbridled disaster in Pittsburgh. That was a terrible win offensively in week 1, and then they just a no-show against New England. I would be running out of patience, too.
Think about this, G. It took them 70 minutes in week 1 in a game where their defense generated 5 turnovers and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it was. If you look at their offense against the New England Patriots, it was god-awful. Only the Chicago Bears had fewer first downs per game than the Pittsburgh Steelers. At some point, you have to look at it and say, if we can't get this thing turned around under Mitch Trubisky, at least we can put Kenny Pickett out there knowing that even if we're not winning games, we get the on-the-job training, the experience that the young kid will then use to be able to develop. So all I'm saying is this. Football is a game that has to be, you have to develop players by putting them in the actual game and getting them those opportunities, and it feels like it's the right time for Pickett.
They may literally be 1 game/2 days away from making a quarterback
Joe Burrow's
change.
offensive line wasn't right last year either. And look at what Joe did.
Let's point to aberrations. Let's base our decision on aberrations.
Well, we're seeing it more and more with young quarterbacks. We're seeing that. We are.
Overcoming bad offensive lines?
We are seeing that.
You named one guy in the history of professional football that's overcome a bad offensive line. Put Kenny Pickett out there, results are not going to change.
But let us point out that a lot of great quarterbacks did have very difficult rookie years. They went in the Troy Aikman and Peyton Manning, and they learned from them. There's 2 different ways that can go. And the Steelers, while the offensive line out Dak Prescott, the Cowboys beat the Bengals Sunday behind Cooper Rush. Yesterday on his radio show, Jerry Jones said he thinks we might see Dak back much sooner than expected.
I do know that I think after a good airing out last week, everybody recognizes that he'll be back sooner rather than later as far as the timeline. And it really could be a minimal of 2 weeks up here in my mind. Now, that's very optimistic. He's got the kind of repair there that will allow him not to have a lot of fear about re-injuring. It's just a question of the grip. But it's a big question.
So, I mean, Jerry Jones has made billions of dollars by being optimistic. He's the man who told you in his world 1 + 1 = 3. And right
Billionaire
now,
math, right?
Maybe he's right. All right, so Dak comes back. Again, I said this last week. When everyone in the world was writing them off, they've got the Giants and the Commanders in the next 2 weeks.
Everyone was writing them off.
Greeny
was the one pounding his fist
voice
on
of
the table,
reason.
telling you that Dallas was still alive.
In
Go ahead.
this
Tell me your
particular
genius.
instance, the world was wrong and Greeny was right. And so the point is, now I'll take it a step farther. They're going to beat both the Giants and the Commanders in the next 2 weeks, and the Cowboys are going to go into that game with the Eagles right on the heels of this Philly team the world is in love with Dak coming back. Jerry's going to wind up being right. How about it?
I see the logic there. I see the thread of logic, but the Giants aren't the same Giants under Brian Daboll. Like, I'm surprised that after the Giants are 2-0 and we've seen the Giants put up fight, that you are so ready to say that Dallas, they're going to come in and they're going to beat the Giants. I don't know about that. I will say, for the Cowboys' sake, this is great news. Having Dak, they're clearly better with Dak. We saw what life without Dak was like. It was not pretty. And they play in the division that makes it easy for them to still be in the hunt.
Chris Canty, the point was made yesterday that with Cooper Rush on the field, that maybe we saw the template for what they should be even when Dak returns, that they do not have the weapons. It was RG3 who was here yesterday making this point, that they don't have the weapons to be the pass-happy team, regardless of who their quarterback is, and that by focusing heavily on their running game behind Zeke and Pollard, that regardless of who, and obviously they're better when Dak is there, but that is the recipe for success for the Cowboys. You agree or disagree?
No, I agree, and I think Dak needs to do a better job of playing within the structure of the offense and not focus on trying to be a force multiplier. You don't have the skill position players that you had once upon a time. And so if Dak is able to come back in the next couple of weeks, I do think that he keeps the Cowboys' playoff hopes and division title hopes alive. But make no mistake about it, the identity for the Dallas Cowboys, if that's going to happen, if they're going to win the NFC East, it has to be the defense, and it has to be because of Michael Parsons, because the guy is an absolute game wrecker. And Greeny, you know this. I said it back this spring. Michael Parsons is